doesn't necessarily mean it, no.
I wasn't asking about your camera, I was asking, are you good? All right, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting started at 6 p.m. Can I get a roll call, please?
Michael Cashin,
Present.
Thomas Wood,
He's in the building.
Meg LaFave,
Here.
Barb Heber,
Present.
Charles Costick,
He'll be absent this evening.
James Coffey,
Here.
Rick Collins.
Resolution 234, approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
Resolved that the minutes of August 23rd, 2018 be approved and the reading of the minutes be dispensed with.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Hebert. Any discussion? None. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carried. At this time, not to be confused with public comment for the local law, is there anyone wishing to speak in regards for public comment this evening? I'm pretty sure I know that you're all here for the local law, so I'm going to move on to one other resolution, then go back to the local law comment, just to make sure we've been provided the time to get here. Okay. Resolution 235, abstract 9B-18.
Resolved that the abstract of auditor claims number 9B-18, 1893 to 2021 for $625,689.72. And abstract 9B-18, 337 to 347 prepays in the amount of $858,326.72 be received as reviewed by the audit committee, and the supervisor is hereby authorized to pay said abstract.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Wood. Is there a second?
Second.
Hebert. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Let's go back to opening the public hearing. Notice is hereby given that the town of Plattsburgh Town Board will meet and hold a public hearing here unto the town located on Bangor Road in the town of Plattsburgh, Clinton County, New York. 6 p.m. prevailing time in relation to the provided citizens adequate opportunity to participate in the review of local law number 1 of 2018, Community Choice Aggregation Energy Program. At this time, we would provide an acceptance of written comments to the record before the hearing, or 2, open public hearing to the floor for public comment. Is there a motion to open for public hearing?
So moved.
Mr. Wood, is there a second?
So moved.
Okay.
Yes.
The time will be 6:02 p.m. Can I get a roll call, Rick?
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Meg LaFave,
Yes.
Barb Heber,
Yes.
Mike Cash.
Yes, at this time, public hearing is open. We would ask anybody wishing to come forward to just step to the podium and provide any comments or written comments.
Michael, could I just ask if you could explain what this is about?
I was gonna give a preview.
Before we get started?
Yeah, really, this part of it is pretty basic. The only reason that the town board at this time is passing the local law is it's often referred to as NIMEP as well. It's a program that's been endorsed by Conference of Mayors and the Association of Towns as basically an energy aggregation program that would allow individuals to benefit from a consortium of electricity. It is an opt-out program, okay? Some people have problems with that. Some people see benefit of it. What we have decided, generically speaking as a board, is we would like for the company to provide us the full recommendation of what they believe that they could save our citizens and taxpayers. And for us to do that, we're required to pass a local law. It's part of the process. Doesn't mean that we will adopt the recommendations of what the company has to say. But we can't kind of put our finger on the full scale of what is there to be provided and the educational process until we do that. So we've been making the general commitment to put the local law out, review the material, and then that company will have significant responsibility to reach out to residents of the town through multiple channels, provide informationals, and what they believe to be the cost savings. I think it is important to know, and I know there's been some communication floating around, we are not the only community to be reviewing this right now. In fact, the town of Plattsburgh is not the one that's been taking the first kind of stab at leading it. I believe Shazy is the first one, and there are a couple other communities that are also looking at this. There was a presentation at Association of Towns. I believe they also made one at the Association of Counties. The representative has been up here, and he and some of his colleagues will be up here again to interface with residents, you know, and community members. So, does that kind of capture some of it?
Kind of.
You're
Well, I was at the presentation, so.
you're welcome to add.
No, I was at the presentation, so I know,
Sure.
you know, more of what's going on.
Yep, you can go to, you can go to their website. Right now, the town board is not committing to anything, I can tell you that, right now. There is no formal commitment, that we will, you know, formally introduce this program. That's my personal commitment, that's been the town's perspective. What we want to do is to receive the full value of, what they can offer, and that's part of the process. We have to pass the local law to be able to get that information, so.
So in terms of specifics, you really can't, you don't know.
No, I don't. I'll be the first person to basically say that tonight is a function to get to the more details, and we will very adequately make sure that it is vetted among the public. That's my personal commitment. I'm not gonna sign on to something. If they say that they're gonna do mailers and they don't do mailers, for instance, well, they haven't met my standard. There are a number of things that they will need to do to prove to me, I can't speak for the other board members, but I think heartily that they would agree, they're gonna wanna see them really step up and provide us, you know, a full suite of things, so.
I know that, attached to the local law was a list of providers. There are other providers that aren't on there that people, you know, use. Are they included, are they not included?
Those are all the questions that we will,
So where did this list come from?
the list was provided to us from them initially. I believe that can be a dynamic list dependent on region, and, you know, the energy market over a variety of periods of time. I mean, when you were here, I think, and I don't wanna put words in his mouth, but he said that the energy market, changes a lot, and sometimes new opportunities, you know, can come into the fold and some fall off the table. So again, I'm not gonna speak for that company. What we're doing is the first step to be able to get us the formal proposal, and then empower that company to come back and make a proposal to us to inform you folks directly as taxpayers. I'm as interested as a taxpayer as I am as an elected official. I wanna see, you know, what is this actually gonna do? It is anticipated that a household could save, I believe, upwards of $200 a year. That may not seem like a lot for somebody that's on a fixed income. That may be, you know, something that really is significant to them. So I'm curious to see what the proposal is.
That's a lot if your electric bills are only 300.
So,
And he said 10%.
he did not commit to a specific number yet, and he said that when he crunches the numbers, he may come back and the proposal may be, this community shouldn't do it for a number of reasons. You know, that there are not enough people in the marketplace to provide a significant savings, and so on and so forth. So we'll evaluate it together. I'll be interested to hear from people.
Who is this company?
It's NIMEP. NIMEP is the consortium in a combination of Association of Towns and Conference of Mayors, but it's also
Well, there's Clean Energy. They're the ones, he's, Good Energy, I mean.
Yep.
They're the ones that are gonna be giving you all the information, and they would be the one who would be selling the electricity to the consumers?
They would be, for lack of better terms, the provider, the individual that would facilitate, the marketplace.
So you're not putting this out for bid for some other ESCOs to get in on it, or you're just taking what they're gonna give you?
So what happens is the Public Service Commission has to certify companies, and I don't wanna disparage any other companies that are out there, because there are other kind of D-rated, E-rated, B-rated, A-rated companies, that some of them are not acknowledged for a program like this through the channels of a municipality. An individual, like an individual resident, could sign up with one of the companies that you're referring to, but it's different for a municipality. So I just don't wanna use it, I don't wanna seem like I'm taking a stab at a company, so I don't wanna use one particular name, but there are some of them that people use right now.
Why is the town getting into this in the first place? What's the object of that?
I think the town's exploring it, the town's not getting into it, it's exploring it. And the professional association that we are subscribers to, that help us evaluate laws, that provide the training for our conferences, that have proven some opportunities for insurance, workers' compensation, a number of other things. Some of those have been benefits to us, and we've taken advantage of it. Others we haven't, so we're exploring it. We haven't signed up for anything yet.
The other thing I would add is the purpose, the underlying purpose is cheaper electricity. That's what, if we can get for, say, non-commercial users of electricity to provide cheap electricity or cheaper electricity, that's the thrust of the argument. You're not required, you're not required to do it, you can stay with your person. I'm just saying this will, my understanding is electricity is purchased like a lot of other commodities, and this company here has a pretty good record. They have a lot of, they're throughout the United States. He listed a whole bunch of towns and areas that they do it in, but it's not something we're required to take. But anyways, you're saying why are we doing this? To save money.
Is this a yearly contract?
We haven't gotten to, I'm.
Oh, you don't know?
Part of it, I'm not trying to,
Obfuscate?
no, I'm not trying to avoid answering questions. What we're doing is step one of many, many steps. Okay, that's all we're doing tonight. So there will be a full-on vet, which I would expect and hope. When I heard that there were members of the community that had an interest to say, what is this, why are we doing this? I was excited by that. Debbie and I talk regularly that not enough people come to board meetings. Well, there will be an opportunity to poke lots of holes and ask lots of questions before we even consider signing on. And the other good thing about it, I believe, is that other communities in the region are looking at this. You have friends in Peru and Beekmantown and Schuyler Falls and other communities. They may think of questions that we haven't thought of, that shared knowledge that we can evaluate it as well. We're still a long ways away from, implementing this. So.
If it ever does get.
Yeah, if it even does.
How many other outfits have come up? This is the only outfit that is
Correct.
coming with the proposal to
Correct.
it?
Correct.
So you don't know if there's anybody better out there,
They're the only ones that are
working with towns?
that are using the model that is being presented through this. They're the only ones that have been endorsed by the Association of Towns and, I think it's Conference of Mayors. And also, my understanding is to have received the appropriate designation by the Public Service Commission. There are certain standards that they need to meet as well. Sometimes there's only one in the, that's out there in the channel. So,
Where are they from?
the company, I believe, is, their headquarters is rooted down in New York City.
Yeah, they're worldwide. Back when I called the guy, maybe, I guess it was 3 or 4 weeks ago, he said he'd been on the phone with they're doing something, I don't know, somewhere in England. So it's not only, it's an international company, they do it all over the world.
I did check some of the cities that he said that they have a presence in, and some were not so good. I mean, you know, they'd go in the first year, and then the next year they'd have exorbitant price rises, and so,
Yeah.
you know, so
Yeah.
they would fall out, and I don't know if I don't know what their contracts were, but I did read about that.
And Debbie, I wanna hear that, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
that's-
so, you know, this is one of those things where it's gonna impact a lot of people, but it is an opt-out program. And the other part to it is, if you hear something, see something, say something. I mean,
And as far as Europe is concerned, it's not a new concept. I mean, Europe has been socialist for a long time, and government has pretty much controlled electricity, gas, and everything else. You know, if you want electricity, you want heat at night, you probably won't get it, and, you know, so is that really the best, the best people to be talking about? I'm not so sure.
Well, we won't find out
Having spent
unless
30
we don't
years
get a
there.
chance to find out unless we go through the process here, this step, and as he said, there's no decision can be made on it. It's gonna be a long ways before we get to that.
I think equally that there could be people that sit in the chairs and say, we hear there's an option that could save us money, why aren't you at least exploring it? That's what we're doing, we're exploring it. We're not signing on the dotted line anywhere. So we'll see where it goes from there.
I think one of the main things that will have to be brought out to the people, that the actual amount of the electricity you use is the smallest amount. You're still gonna pay your big part of your bill to NYSEG, no matter who is the supplier of your electric. See, so when people might look at their electric bill, and it might say, oh, it's $150 a month, probably $90 of that is gonna go to NYSEG anyway, because they are the deliverer. The other amount is your supply, which would come from them, and if that figure thrown up is, say, 10%, I'm just using a round figure.
Sure.
And then you have an administrative fee.
I do not, there's been some stuff floating around that the town is going to have this administrative fee. I do not anticipate the town having an administrative fee. What we are doing simply is using the documents that are provided us to get the full review of what they're proposing. Okay, so we're using the documents as presented, moving it forward to have that conversation. If I'm gonna save you money, I'm not gonna try to turn around and pick you from the left pocket where I saved you money in the right pocket. Just not gonna happen, okay?
I've been with a co-op for years.
Sure.
I'm not with, I know you're not mentioning any names,
The
so
list, the list.
I'm not with one of them ones that been shafting a lot of people. I've been with a good co-op, and I'm getting my electric a lot cheaper than NYSEG.
You said the name.
Well, NYSEG is the main supplier here.
Yeah, no, I'm just not,
Unless somebody opts out of getting it from NYSEG and goes to a co-op, or one of the other ones, and I'm with a co-op, and I'm doing
Which
well.
isn't on the list, is it?
No, it doesn't make any difference what's on the list, because you have to notify, it doesn't make any difference who supplies you your electric. You have to, if you're gonna opt out or put a block on, you have to go to NYSEG. If you live in this area and you're covered by NYSEG, you have to go to NYSEG, and NYSEG puts the block on, or opts you out.
Or you opt you out. You opt you out.
yes, the individual opts you
Opts
out,
out,
yes,
that's right.
correct,
They opt themselves.
correct.
So, for me, unless there's a big thing, it wouldn't benefit me at
Sure.
all. But with that co-op that I'm with,
So you just opt out.
Just
It
stay where
wouldn't
you are,
affect you.
yeah.
well, I'm already blocked.
Yeah, okay, so,
Okay, so you opted out, so you know, for all intents and purposes.
I might,
You see, you
I
sound,
might be looking to get your gas if it's cheap,
Yeah.
because I don't know if there's very many ESCOs that supply gas other than
Nice.
NYSEG.
do you wanna say something, John? You kinda were trying to do it a couple of times,
And I
so I just didn't wanna.
interrupted you, sorry.
No, I I just wondered, is there a fee to get this company to initiate this study
No.
or whatever? They have no fee?
No.
And the other thing is, would you eventually have to hire any personnel to get involved in this at all?
No.
Okay.
So, yeah, I get it. If I wasn't on the board, I certainly would be one of you here tonight to wanna hear about it. I'll be very direct. I lean towards thinking that there's some benefits to it, but I still wanna hear a lot more. I'm still far away from, just signing off on it. I mean, John, you were on the board. I think you know that the Association of Towns, at least from a general perspective, doesn't just endorse every, WIM program that comes before it,
Yeah.
because they are very protective of their brand, like a lot of companies. So, it's how we got stuff like NYMER, which really helps with, the insurance and things like that. People coming together and creating these new kind of co-op type opportunities. I wanna hear some more information, I wanna see the presentation. I'm as curious to hear from the residents though, because you're gonna interface with them and you're gonna bring up some questions and concerns. And if they go, well, I'll get back to you, and they don't have answers, that speaks volumes too, so,
I think that some of the things that I've heard is people say, well, how is it that, assuming that, you go forward with this and so on and so forth, the town has the right to tell me that I have to put me in, and then I have to ask to get out. That's a lot of concern to people, because it's like you're usurping their rights. I realize opting out is their right to opt out. However, it's kind of the reverse of what most people believe is the way we should live.
government does that in a lot of different respects.
Well, I realize they do, is it right?
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, that's
If
the.
you like being socialistic, I guess it is.
I mean, we can get into a debate. I don't think that's what this forum is for, a public
No.
hearing.
But that's what I hear.
Yeah, no, I get it. That's why I'm glad that you're here tonight, I'm always more concerned when we, if there was, I think this board believes, and I'd be curious to hear from my colleagues, but I believe this board believes that just because someone's not in an audience, doesn't mean that there's uniform, support for something. And we try to do our due diligence in speaking with our friends and neighbors and, and taxpayers at large. Can you get to every single taxpayer, for every issue? No, but we do talk to people, and outside of the, often that little vacuum that people believe that we only talk to certain people, I mean, I
And
call.
you tried to call me
Yeah,
today, and I
called
couldn't
you.
get back to you.
Yeah, but
know.
I mean,
Yeah.
but that wasn't even about this, like, you and I talk about
Other things.
other things.
Yeah.
So, I think our board is very.
I appreciated that, I didn't have a chance
Yeah,
to get back to you.
very accessible on that, so as we go through this process, give us feedback. If you see an article that's, email it to the board. I mean, so, I don't know what to say other than that. I hope that there will be at least an understanding this evening that, we're likely to pass the local law so that we can get more material. Otherwise, we're in that freeze, and then we can't even provide the full circle information that we're hoping for. We're not going beyond that at this point, though.
So we can let people know that passing the local law, it's still a long way from
Correct.
being done. And
Correct.
once it is done, is it gonna be a strict 30 days to opt out?
I am going to reserve comment on that, and I'm going to put the full ownership on them to publicly introduce all aspects of the program, okay? So that you can hear it from them, so that the board can hear it from them, and then if we were to, adopt something and they did something or do something different, we can fully hold them accountable to what they introduced to us. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Okay?
because you do have a lot of citizens
Yeah.
out there that believe, once they see their electric bill, that they're gonna save on that whole bill. They don't look at parts coming,
Mhm.
there's your delivery fee and the parts your supplier and stuff like that, ever since everything was deregulated.
One of the things, and I can only speak again for myself, since I've been supervisor, I worked with NICEAG to try to have some informational sessions here, because there was still a lot of confusion when they were rolling out that program. Did we fill the room every time?
I mean,
No.
the gas.
Yeah, for natural gas. But, so I'm a firm believer that, you know, they need to do some, we'll give them the room and people can come and, meet with them and ask questions, and we'll have, public comments, and, I mean, we will vet this in a number of ways with their expectation that they also reach out to people. They do mailers, I mean, there's no silver bullet, right? Some people can get a mailer, there could be a TV ad, and they're still not gonna see it, read it, or understand it.
Well, you
So-
constantly got that solar thing that's sending cards out to you every other
Right.
day.
Solar farm.
But, yeah, the one in Moores and
Yeah.
it's downstate.
Send in your $20.
All right,
I just wanna say for my part, I agree with everything Cashman said, we're not gonna go ahead with anything until we're satisfied we have all the information and that everyone who's interested, which is our taxpayers, have had their chance to learn everything and give us all of their concerns. And we are always asking questions in every interaction we have, whether it's town activity or business outside the town, that we all have other jobs, we interact with a lot of people and a lot of experts in certain fields. Trevor and I were on the phone with a NICEAG representative about rebates for LED lights last week, and at the end of the call, I said, hey, listen, we're exploring community,
CCA.
choice
Choice
aggregation. What are your thoughts on this? He's an energy guy, I'm sure he has opinions. He said it's not his field, he's not gonna say anything about it, but we're always talking to people about this stuff, because we wanna have all of the information we can before we make any decision.
Yeah, and to Debbie's point, it's good to hear the concerns, because I had some questions before tonight's forum that people couldn't, and I have the closest constituent, which is my spouse, who asked me several questions, so I'm just saying, you need to hear, even right to the closest person you live with.
If I could answer Gary, when Mr. Carey was here doing his presentation for NIMAP, I pointedly asked him who his competitors were, and he did not respond. So, that just food for thought.
So are you going to send a letter out to the public, to everybody
we do
in the
not.
town of Plattsburgh, or is this company going
The
to?
company will do, and again, they will have the responsibility for outreach. They provide us, what they're doing, what their strategy is, what their plan is. I will certainly, and the board will certainly also be telling people, to be on the lookout for various things. And again, Debbie reminds me of this often. I know everyone's not on Facebook, but I'll just use an example. Like, we'll use free tools that we have too. We'll put stuff on our website, we'll use Facebook, we'll, put stuff at Ricky's office, for the clerk. So if you're coming in to pay your water, so there'll be multiple ways. It's not just this kind of silver bullet shot, that people will hope for. And once we get the contact information as far as how they plan on doing it, you can expect that I'll share it with Debbie and she can put it on the Taxpayers Association website, for instance. So there'll be multiple ways people can interface with this material. Yep.
How did they get the addresses from everybody? From you?
I believe
Public release.
I believe what they do is, they work with, the different energy companies to put some material out. We're still multiple steps away from that, so I don't have all the answers, I'll be honest, so.
Well, I called New York State Gas and Electric, and I said, if somebody calls you, you don't give them any information at all.
Yep.
I don't want anybody knowing anything about my account,
Yep.
and they said it was blocked, so they can't get into it.
Yep.
So they can't call New York State Gas and Electric and
Right.
ask for anything about my account.
Right now, the general process is they don't go, what is Michael Cashman's consumption, what's, and so on and so forth. They look at what the community is drawing. That's the number that they're looking at. Where is the tipping point as a community. That's the first review, okay? Because those numbers they can get from a more global perspective. Okay.
They're gonna do gas too, or only electric?
They're looking at the suite, so, yeah.
Because there is some kind of a problem as far as separate ESCOs with the gas line.
Mhm.
And I don't know if it's because of the main, being a Canadian-owned main, because the co-op that I'm with,
Mhm.
they're selling it 16% last year less than NICIC,
Gas or?
Gas. but they can't sell it to anybody in Clinton County because of the main. So I'm just wondering if somebody else is gonna be able to,
Maybe.
or if whoever has to do with that main, because it's Canadian gas, has got something locked up. So,
I would encourage you to ask those questions.
I will.
And I'm sure, and I think we're gonna have some of our own too as taxpayers. I mean, not just, as policymakers, Any other, do people at least understand this chapter?
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
a long ways yet.
Yes, yes. And I would encourage you, the other community that's going through this process is Shazy, okay? So, talk to your friends and, colleagues that may live in that community. Once a month, I meet with the supervisors, in the county, and we share information, the good, the bad, the ugly, and stuff like that. And, Bill Arthur, who's the, supervisor there, he was really intrigued, and he said, I'm gonna work with them and move forward and see where it goes. So, what he learns is gonna become our knowledge as well, and vice versa. So, all right, in the spirit of that then, I would accept a motion to close this public hearing. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
LaFave, is there a second?
Second.
Hebert, can I get a roll call, please?
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Meg LaFave,
Yes.
Barb Hebert,
Yes.
Mike Kastner.
Yes, gonna close this at 6:31 PM. Resolution 236, monthly department reports.
Resolved and received and placed on file monthly department head reports, building and grounds, highway superintendent, park and recs, codes and zoning, planning, community development, supervisor's financial report.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
LaFave, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carries. Okay. Put that verbal asterisk. This is the resolution that we were just talking about that doesn't commit us long-term until we get some more information. Resolution 237, proposed action to select Good Energy LP to act as a community choice aggregation program administrator.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh desires to find ways to reduce electricity and/or natural gas costs for residential and commercial customers throughout the town of Plattsburgh. Whereas the town of Plattsburgh desires to adopt and approve through local law a community choice aggregated program. Whereas the town of Plattsburgh has been approached by Good Energy LP regarding the possibility of Good Energy LP acting as administrator for the town of Plattsburgh Community Choice Aggregated Program. Whereas the town board, town of Plattsburgh, has determined that Good Energy LP is qualified to act as administrator for the town of Plattsburgh Community Choice Aggregated Program. Whereas the town of Plattsburgh desires to work with Good Energy LP to take any and all steps necessary as required by New York State law and policy programs and ordered by the state administrative agency to evaluate, negotiate, and contract for the implementation of community choice aggregated program, and the town of Plattsburgh determined the same to be in the good interest of the town of Plattsburgh. Now therefore be resolved, the town board resolves as following. One, the town board finds the exploration of potential use of community choice aggregation in the town of Plattsburgh is in the best interest of residential and community electricity and natural gas customers within the town of Plattsburgh. Two, the town board here approves Good Energy LP to act as a community choice aggregation program administrator and authorizes the necessity of the town of Plattsburgh officials to work with the Good Energy LP to conduct preliminary analysis, design programs, and procure electricity and natural gas service from the energy service company, as well as to take any and all necessary steps as required by New York State law and policies, programs, and orders of the state administrative agency, including but not limited to conducting RFPs to select energy providers and negotiate and enter into agreements, including power purchases agreements to facilitate implementation of the town of Plattsburgh Choice Energy Aggregation Program. If the town of Plattsburgh determines that the state will be in the best interest of the town of Plattsburgh's electric and natural gas customers. Three, the supervisor and/or members of the town board, as appropriate or as required by law, hereby authorized, empowered, and directed to execute and deliver such documents and all action on behalf of the town of Plattsburgh as may be deemed necessary, appropriate, or advisable to carry out the intent of the purposes of the foregoing resolutions. Four, execute and deliver and performance by the supervisor and/or members of the town board as appropriate or otherwise required by law. For and on behalf of the town of Plattsburgh, of all such instruments and documents required in connection with the implementation of the Community Choice Aggregation Program, each in form of substance approved by the supervisor and/or members of the town board as appropriate or as otherwise required by law. His or her signature therefore being conclusive evidence of said approval, and hereby in all respects approved, adopt, and authorized on behalf of the town of Plattsburgh. Five, the foregoing resolution shall remain in full force and effect until a copy of subsequent resolution revoking or amending them, duly certified and empowered officers of the town board shall be made by the town board. This resolution shall become effective immediately. And further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the town clerk and the finance manager.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
LaFave, is there a second?
Second.
Hebert, any discussion? I just want to provide two little segments that I think really illustrate some of the depth of this. To conduct preliminary analysis, there's an analysis part of it, okay, as we just talked about before. And then it goes further if the town of Plattsburgh determines the same to be in the interest. So again, thank you for expressing your concerns. I mean that sincerely. We look forward to active participation in this process and your feedback. So I think it will be most helpful. So, any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor please say aye.
Aye.
So does carry. Resolution 238, Hometown Heroes 2018.
Whereas the Planning and Community Development Department has identified a community development project to honor active, honorably discharged, and deceased military members in the town of Plattsburgh by displaying banners throughout the town of Plattsburgh from May through November. And whereas said banners will be purchased by town residents and displayed for a 2-year period and returned to the residents during the decommissioning of. And whereas the Planning and Community Development Department will manage the program and will collectively work with the Grounds and Maintenance Department and the local American Legions to ensure program success. And now therefore be resolved that the Planning and Community Development Department is authorized to engage the public for further program development and work with the Finance Department to create a line item to accept banner funds. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the planning department and finance manager.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
For Dave, is there a second?
I feel like we should all unanimously motion this.
It's not a proclamation, so we'll need to have a hard line, but, so is there a second?
Second.
Hebert. Okay. Just discussion-wise, this is a program that a lot of the other towns and communities are doing. These are banners that are hung on the side of telephone poles. For those of you that maybe didn't see it, it's kind of a general mock-up. Chuck Costa couldn't be here this evening, but he also expressed that the Katyville Fire Department would actually help in putting them up around town too, to alleviate some of the, the back work of getting them up as well as some of our American Legion folks too. So I think this board really has been trying to identify a number of ways to acknowledge the service of our veterans, and this is something some other communities are doing, and we hope to implement it here in our own town. Any other comments? Seeing none.
So there's a one-time fee?
Yep, and it's paid by the family members, or the person that's kind of looking to honor the individual.
And that's for the cost of the banner, or is that for the
Yep.
cost of the banner and the installation?
It's really the cost of the banner, and eventually the family members will get the banner. They usually are displayed for 2 years and then decommissioned, and then that family gets the banner, which is kind of a nice thing, so.
So you're saying we're gonna be displaying throughout the town, would it be in the community that the person lives?
The way that most of the communities have done is to identify specific areas. So because we're a community that's very hamlet-driven, it could be very tough to promise that it could be on a specific telephone next to someone's house. And so they usually put them in a concentrated area. So maybe Smithville Boulevard for just one example. But there'll be lots of opportunities to kind of flush out those details.
Is this Michelle's?
Yeah. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So this passes. Resolution 239, American Battlefield Protection Grant.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh is the owner of significant lakeshore property in the Cliff Haven neighborhood of Plattsburgh and west of Crab Island, which was identified in the 2016 Lake Champlain Saranac River Waterfront Plan as a key priority project. Whereas the town is working in partnership with the American Legion to develop the site as a battlefield memorial park with marine access to Crab Island. The site will be developed in multiple phases, whereas phase 1 will include planning, design, engineering for improving access to site, parking, signage, jetty stabilization, boardwalk construction. And whereas a $20,000 grant from the American Battlefield Project has been awarded to the town. And whereas the $20,000 from the ABPP will be used to fund the implementation plan, which will provide the framework for presentation of the site throughout the state of the art interpretation techniques that will be highlight the rich history of Crab Island and Plattsburgh Bay. Now therefore be resolved that Michael Cashman, as supervisor of the town of Plattsburgh, is hereby authorized to enter and execute project agreement with the National Park Service, such as financial assistance to the town of Plattsburgh for the American Battlefield Protection Program grant. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Planning Community Development Grant Department and Finance Manager.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Wood, is there a second?
Second.
Hebert, any discussion? This is part of the project that we had talked about, we've been able to secure one of the first grants to help us do some of the interpretive stuff, so excited by this. All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so does pass. Almost there. Resolution 240, appointment of Lorraine Strider to the Assessment Board of Review.
Whereas a vacancy exists for a member of the Board of Assessment Review, and whereas Ms. Lorraine Streeter, a resident of the town of Plattsburgh, is willing to serve as a member of the Assessment Board of Review, therefore be resolved that the town board does hereby appoint Ms. Streeter to the Assessment Board of Review for a term to expire September 30th, 2022. And to be further resolved that Ms. Streeter take the oath of office within 30 days of this resolution. And to be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the board chairman and to the town assessor.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Hebert, is there a second?
Second.
Wood? She has been on this board before, and it's really a continuation of an appointment, so, all right. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 So does carry. This will shock Debbie greatly.
No executive session. I
No
know.
executive session. Unless I know.
Just one question.
Yep.
Jim's been working hard.
On the previous motion for
Yep.
hometown heroes, they have to have lived in the town. You can't be your immediate relative, parent or something.
The hometown hero part of it is that it stitches you into this community. You follow me?
So
So,
what
for
if you weren't a
instance-
hero when you, but, you know, you moved here after you were the hero?
No,
You
no, no.
died here.
No, it's, there's a residency component to it, that you're connected to it. If you live here now or beforehand, you can't, if you have a grandfather in Massachusetts, you can't honor that
No,
individual
no, that's
here.
not what I'm saying. Suppose they were in World War II and they were from Georgia and they moved up here and retired and
That's fine.
died here.
That's fine.
That's then.
I think if there's
Yeah.
any connection.
Yeah, there's the connection,
Yeah.
because they lived here,
Yep.
buried here,
Yeah.
died here.
Yes, but do you understand where,
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Not a drive-through.
yes.
Is it?
All right.
It's not.
At this point, I would accept a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Hebert, is there a second?
Second.
Wood, any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We will adjourn at 6:47 PM. Thank you, drive safe, folks.
Even though my wife has lived here for
Thomas. Pick it up for the community development office.
Really?
Yes.
So, how you doing? Been out playing golf? This is good weather for golf.
Time we're gonna put.
Did you? How'd you do?
Subscribe to the paper.
It was chilly. I went to the range yesterday and it was cold.
But doesn't read it.
Well,
Yeah, it
you don't have to
was.
do both.
It's supposed to rain tomorrow, so.
Wait a minute.